This is the story of how I ended up with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pinball machine.
Hey guys, what's going on? So, as you can see, there's a Turtles machine here now. Actually, if I do this, you can see it a lot better. It's beautiful. It's zombie Yeti art. I love it. So, let's talk about that. So, this got traded, or Mandalorian got traded for this. There's a story behind this, but I want to kind of go through some of the post mortem stuff with Mandalorian, some of the pros and cons. Okay, let's start with the pros for Mando because there's actually a lot of pros. I would say there's more pros than there are cons. It's just those cons were adding up for me. So as far as the pros, I've got a list here. Art, fantastic on the machine. It's one of the coolest art packages on the machine by far. Mine was a pro. Sound, Jerry Thompson did a great job. Code, Dwight Sullivan did a great job. The only thing that code that got a little bit wore on me after a little while was ambush, but you could let it time out or just go for a shot to try to escape or something like that. One of the things that Dwight does really well is lighting, and my god, the lighting effects on Mandalorian were so cool when you went into some of the wizard modes and stuff. Okay, so let's talk about my cons with Mandalorian, and this is a big one, is the playfield design. Now, when I originally got this, there was things that were just not popping off the way I preferred, and I thought, I'm relatively new at having a pinball machine and having it in my house and putting them on location and stuff like that, so there's a lot I gotta learn. As I started seeing people way better at me playing that game and having the same issues, it kind of started to pop. I started to realize code is not going to fix my problem with this machine, so let's start with that. The first one is the left orbit. It's a very tight shot, which I don't have a problem with. Turtles has a very tight right orbit. But when you hit it, you hit it. You know it wasn't because it was cheap. It runs like glass, goes right through that spinner, rips it really well. And that's one of the things that kind of upsets me about the game, is that's where the spinner's at as well. And you really want to rip that spinner from time to time. The way it works is it goes up, and then there's a little post with a little piece of rubber keeping it from hitting the pop bumper. But it had more issues than that. Like when mine came, and I can't speak to everybody's, but some of the plastic on the side that was going along the ball guide was actually like raised up at one point and then bolted down flush at another point. So what would happen is, like, if you didn't hit that post and it didn't rattle around, come back down, which often that's what it did, instead of going all the way around, hit that back plastic and just kind of like go, and then because the ball doesn't always stay in the air. Sometimes it kind of hits and rattles around and brushes up against things. And it seems like it was hitting that plastic area and then rolling back down. So it was frustrating. Then you had this like super wide, straight up the middle shot with the little dangle target. That dangle target's cool and everything, but it's only like, when you look at it, it's only like maybe, half of that open area shot. You can actually shoot almost like around that to go up the center ramp if you need to. I feel like that should have been like a narrower shot, and that would have given more room to flare out that left ramp that's harder to hit. Maybe give a little bit more room for that orbit. Maybe, work towards some fixes towards that. I will say that anytime I go to a location, if I see one, I'll end up playing it because it's still a fun game. I just don't want it for one of my machines. And that was very prevalent when I was streaming one day, and I was streaming Mandalorian. And I usually do about 3-4 hours on Twitch, and I stream on Saturdays starting at 2 p.m. and I usually go for 3 to 4 hours for those pinball streams. And I will tell you that for me, it was I was very frustrated, very upset by the time I got done with that stream. And I realized every time before that, I just turn it on and play a couple games and enjoy it, and then turn it right back off and walk away. I never really sat down and played it for a long period of time, and I never really got that one more game feel out of it. I'd play a couple here and there, and then after that, I was kind of done with it. So if you enjoy Mandalorian, by all means, enjoy Mandalorian. Not every machine's for everybody, and it just wasn't for me. So keep that in mind. And that's the great thing about the hobby, is everybody has their different kind of play fields and shots and code and everything they like. And I've started to realize I tend to like machines that have simple enough to pick up, maybe slightly complex parts of it, but it's not necessary to get to like the final wizard mode of the game or something like that. So when I was looking for a replacement, the Mandalorian I had was a Pro model. So I wanted to trade a Pro for another Pro, and I wanted like a few things. I wanted to feel like I was getting my money's worth, and I definitely feel that way with Deadpool. Deadpool's great, but I wanted that one more game feel that I've had similar to like a lot of other games. Even Jurassic Park Home, I always had that like one more game feel. I'd get addicted to it and just would not want to stop playing it, but had the table be challenging enough for me to kind of pick up and learn and just learn how to become a better pinball player, but also have some complexity in it, like extra goals and stuff that I can achieve for maybe like an extra wizard mode or something. Tables that I've considered was Godzilla, but the Godzilla, I want a premium, and I did not want to pay all that extra cash for the premium right now. And especially going into next year when the next runs come out, the prices are going up again. So that was another factor here. As far as Bond goes, I liked what I saw from the stream. All the shots look really cool. I love that Gomez always puts metal ramps and all of his stuff. I liked some of the code stuff that was already in there. There's like a cool mode where you get a Geiger counter from Q Branch, and then there's a shot you gotta find, and you gotta kind of like listen to the ticks of the Geiger counter to figure out where the shot is. It sounded like the code is going to a good place, but it's gonna be a while before it gets there. I'm glad that Stern made a very yellow pinball table. It's very loud and very bold of him, but I'm not super into it. And if I'd get one, I'd want the Pro, and I'm not really into that art that much. And I'd never buy a pinball machine, or trade one or any of that stuff unless I've actually played it. So for a little while there, I was just like kind of feeling like, oh man, I'm stuck with Mando, because there's really honestly not anything else I would want to have that excites me much more. Mando. And Mando is just kind of like, pizza place I used to go to, and still go to actually. And they regularly get like a pinball machine in. I think somebody, like, they know somebody and they just rotate machines out or something. And one of the machines that came there was well, for me, it was a brand new TMNT. I'd not seen it before. And it was there for about a couple months, and I kept on going back for lunch just to play TMNT. I was addicted. I would go in there and probably spend just about as much on TMNT as I would on my lunch. I was definitely in that one more game mode. I was addicted to it. And yeah, I have a love for Ninja Turtles. I grew up with it. It was one of my staple cartoons, along with like the real Ghostbusters, X-Men, and the Batman the Animated Series. And let's be honest, everybody watched Saved by the Bell. And when I started thinking about it, I was like, did I still make that? And I went and reading up, and it's like Stern had just announced Last Call on these. So I was like, man, I just missed it. So the thing is I kind of forgot about it, like probably a lot of other people did, because I don't see too many TMNTs out there. And I think part of that is this thing launched right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I really think that kind of killed the momentum for it. Called down to Next Level Pinball Museum in Hillsboro, Oregon, and they had this. And they were going to give me a good price for the Mando. And so we did a trade. And so now TMNT lives here. I've been to actually 2 major pinball shows. And I don't remember seeing this out of the 100 machines there once. And I sparingly ever run into it. Now that it's on its last run, I'm starting to see it pop up in different places. And Zombie Yeti has become my favorite artist on all these machines. I love the way all these look, like Deadpool, and now Ninja Turtles in here. So as far as the art package goes, it's a win. I actually think the Pro is the best looking out of all these, which is a strange thing to happen, but I really do. I like that cityscape on the side with the yellows and stuff like that. I really like the green trim on here, which you don't get green trim on a premium, and then you only get it on the LE after that. I actually like the Translite a little bit better. And he does this thing with his Translites where there's this like vignetting going on, where it's like brightest in the center and like all the colors just pop out, and I love that effect. With the sound, Jerry hit it out of the park again. They had to re-record the TMNT song. They had to do new voice actors and everything. Krang voiceover, the Shredder voiceover. The Turtles sound pretty close to the originals. And the redone song, I think, sounds just as good, if not better, than the original did. So they did a really good job on that. On top of the other songs that they made just for this machine, the thing that's really cool is like there's like one called Window Shopping for the actual mode called Window Shopping. And it's got a beat to it that sounds like it belongs in like a TMNT game, like Turtles in Time or the original arcade game. And there's a few of them in there, but there's also like different songs with like sort of like synth and like, drum beats and stuff that you would expect to hear from like stuff in the late 80s, early 90s. So it matches that tone very, very well. All right, so it has a very understandable roll set by Dwight Sullivan. Once again, Dwight hits it with like the lighting and stuff. The thing I like about it is it's understandable for anybody else. It's basically you have left, right ramp, center ramp, which is off that side flipper. And like a lot of games like Godzilla and stuff, you want to like be sparingly using that side flipper because it can screw you over. But really all you need to do is hit left ramp, and then up the pizza parlor shot right where the turtle van is. To start your episodes, hit your flashing shots. There's some variation in the episodes. There's 8 episodes. After 2, you get an extra ball. After 4, there's a team up. The team up is dependent on which turtle you selected. Each turtle has different attributes that you can level up. The cool thing is this, ever since Stern Insider Connected came out, you can actually tie to what level your turtles are at to Insider Connected. So if you level up a character to level 2, 3, 4, when you log into Insider Connected, it's going to keep that for you. So if you're coming into this with a mindset of somebody that doesn't really understand the rules and the code, and you're just constantly trying to get up that center ramp, you're it's definitely newer at pinball or getting your skills built up like I am, you're going to have a bad time. But it's really not necessary to keep making that shot to have a good time on this machine. That's what I like about it. The other thing I was really bummed about Mando going away was the fact that Mando had a co-op mode and impossible mode and different ways to play it, like different challenges and stuff. Well, guess what? Co-op started on here, and since then Dwight has added impossible. His son has coded a special challenge mode called Half Shell Challenge, where it's a timed shot mode. And there is also, I believe, the final wizard mode is on here as its own standalone challenge. So it's got all this stuff, and I really appreciate that, because that's one of the things when I was looking at Mando, I was kind of like just really freaking sad that I wasn't going to have access to that anymore. I always want new ways to play these games. So for the last week or so, when I've been able to play this, I've gotten good enough where I've gotten the ball in play for a lot longer. I've learned not to use that upper flipper as much. It's pretty much a trap a lot of times. And I've gotten good enough to where I've gotten about 2 or 3 good episodes in. I'm pretty consistently getting the first extra ball. I found out that hitting the pops is pretty important, because that's pretty much your mystery, and you get a lot of good stuff out of that. And on top of that, I will say that it's one of those games I just want to keep going back and playing. Like I've actually put things off that I shouldn't be putting off this week just to play Turtles. That's how much I like this game. So I'm being a very good adult. You can find me playing this on Twitch on Saturdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is typically when I start, and I usually go for 3 to 4 hours. If I have a bad day where my back's kind of starting to go out on me early, then I typically quit the stream a little bit earlier than that. But I like to try to host another pinballer on those days, so we'll see if that's possible. Last time we did this, or last couple Saturdays, it seems like in my time slot, usually I'm pretty much the only one streaming at that time. But so hopefully by the end of the week, next stream, I'm hoping I can get more consistently to team up mode. But yeah, I still kind of suck at it. But I'm not like an excellent pinball player anyways, but I do have fun, and I enjoy the community, and I love all you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.